I want to sincerely thank MLS to decide not to put Friday games for this MLS match week number 10. Because let's say if this game between NYCFC versus Orlando City is going to start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and right now it's 3:28 in the afternoon on a Friday, not only I am not going to be able to finish uploading this video before the game start, but I don't even think I will be finished in time in terms of recording this video before 4 o'clock, and this game has already started. And obviously no one want to watch a part of the video where I preview a game that have already just happened. I mean, that's not really a preview, is it? It's more like kind of a review. So thank you, MLS, for not putting Friday games this week. But that being said, there are going to be 8 games on Saturday and 4 games that is on Sunday. And one thing I will not thank MLS is that they decided to once again put a 10 a.m. game, and that is exactly what this one is. NYCFC versus Orlando City. It's a 10 a.m. game, my time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. And for NYCFC, of course, they're coming into this game with a record of 2-5-1, and Orlando City are 3-2-3. Obviously, NYCFC have now won back-to-back games, while Orlando City, of course, won 1-0 against Vancouver at home. Your shots leader for NYCFC, Matrida, with 29 shots and 10 shots on goal. Now, Matrida, he was questionable in terms of the midweek games, and he didn't play in that midweek game. So the question is he going to be questionable once again heading into this Saturday game against Orlando City? Because he did suffer a bit of a knock in the game on last weekend against DC United. So we'll see if he will be back for this game against Orlando City. In terms of the second place for the shots leader for NYCFC, it's Alex Ring with 14 shots and 7 shots on goal. Castellano with 11 shots and 5 shots on goal. Morales with 11 shots and 6 shots on goal. And Tajuri Shradi with 7 shots and 2 shots on goal. On the Orlando City side, Dom Dwyer with 25 shots and 10 shots on goal. Nani with 12 shots and 8 shots on goal. Chris Mueller with 9 shots and 3 shots on goal. Sacha Kleshin with 7 shots and 3 shots on goal. And João Matinho with 6 shots and 2 shots on goal. So, when you look at this match, obviously for NYCFC, like I said, they have now won back-to-back games. Although I wouldn't say NYCFC has been playing much better. I mean, they have played a little bit better, but they definitely are not a team where I would say they're back. Okay, after such a slow start, it looked like this is the NYCFC team again. Because in the last game against Chicago, even though they won 1-0, that was probably as ugly as you can get a win in that game against Chicago, where they really just grind out a victory there. So, yeah, we shall see how they do against Orlando City. And, Orlando City, they definitely are playing much better this year, although there's been times that they have shown some inconsistency throughout this season. So, yeah, we will see what kind of Orlando City will show up. Would it be the good Orlando City side, or the Orlando City side that just revert back to last year and decide to give up so many goals at the back? But next up, it's TFC. They play against Portland Timbers. TFC, of course, their record is 4-1-1, while the Timbers finally got their first win after going winless for the first 6 games and snapped that 5-game losing streak with a win against Columbus. Their record now is 1-1-5, while TFC, of course, won that crazy game against Minnesota where they won 4-3 against them. Your shots leader for TFC, Josie Altidore with 17 shots and 10 shots on goal. De Leon with 12 shots and 4 shots on goal. Pozuelo with 10 shots and 7 shots on goal. Osorio with 7 shots and 3 shots on goal. And Hamilton with 6 shots and 3 shots on goal. On the Portland side, Blanco with 12 shots and 6 shots on goal. Diego Valeri with 16 shots and 8 shots on goal. Jeremy Abobosi with 11 shots and 3 shots on goal. Mabiala with 11 shots and 2 shots on goal. And Espira with 8 shots and 3 shots on goal. And, obviously for when you look at this game, it looked like TFC most likely is going to win this game, despite the fact that Portland, of course, did get their first win. But having said that, one of the things that I maybe are expecting of this game is that there's going to be a ton of goals. Both of these defense are not very good. TFC, although they have definitely looked like like they are probably the best team in the Eastern Conference. And if you look at their points per game, they actually have the highest points per game out of any team. So technically they are at the top of the Eastern Conference, but because they have played some of the fewest game in MLS right now, I think they're sitting in third place. But they're averaging more than 2 points per game so far this season. But lately, although they are still getting wins, they have really struggled in terms of the defensive end. They've been giving up a lot of goals, and their defense have looked very soft in these last couple of games. But they are going to be playing against a Portland team that also has that similar problem of the fact that the defense is not really good. And knowing TFC, of how most of their attacker like Altidore and Pozuelo they are basically right now in form in terms of the attack. And Portland, although their attacker hasn't really been doing that well, guys like Sebastian Blanco and Valeri hasn't really got into the full stride like they did last season. Something tells me that this could definitely be a very high scoring game because of the way how both defense have just been leaking goals left and right. But yeah, next up is the Quakes. They are playing against FC Dallas. So the Quakes, their record now is 2-1-5. Should have been 3-0-5 if we didn't blow that 2-0 lead against the Seattle Sounders, and would have got our first row win of the season since last season when we beat FC Dallas on the road, that is the team that we're playing this week, as FC Dallas is 5-1-2. Dallas, of course, they won away last week against Atlanta, which sounds impressive until you realize Atlanta is having a really bad season. Well, the Quakes, of course, they drew 2-2 against Seattle, and again, it definitely does sound impressive, but it would have been more impressive if they didn't blow that 2-0 lead in their midweek game against the Sounders. And in terms of the shots leader in this game for Dallas, Kellen Acosta used to play for FC Dallas. Now he's with Colorado, but now they have another Acosta called Brian Acosta, who has now lead the shots leader for FC Dallas with 10 shots and 4 shots on goal. Hollingshead with the same amount of number, and Hollingshead, I believe, is a left back. I mean, that just tells you how crazy in terms of, Dallas this season, it seemed like they haven't really created a lot of chances, but when they do create a lot of chances, it's usually from guys that you probably didn't think that are the guys that is creating chances. And in some way, Dallas is kind of like doing something similar to last year, where, this is a team that don't have that one specific player that are going to be their main goal scorer. They always find a way to score goals with each team contributing to the goal scoring threat. Although, to be fair, I think lately Ferreira has been kind of that main goal scoring target with him scoring a goal in the last 2 games. He has 9 shots and 3 shots, or 4 shots on goal in terms of the shot leader chart that FC Dallas had. Paxton Pomykal with 9 shots and 3 shots on goal, while Michael Barrios with 8 shots and 6 shots on goal. Now, for the Quakes side, Espinoza with 21 shots and 10 shots on goal. Huson with 20 shots and 10 shots on goal. Eriksson with 15 and 4 shots on goal. Vaca with 11 shots and 3 shots on goal. And Wando with 8 shots and 1 shot on goal. And the Quakes, lately, they have put a lot of shots in their opponents have, and a lot of this has to do with the fact that our attack just looks so much better in the last couple of games, and have it's not like a team that was in the beginning of the season where the attack was a real issue and we weren't really creating anything. Now, that being said, when you look at the way this game will play out, well, as a Quakes fan, I want to say I am confident about this game, and I will say maybe I am going to be as confident as I ever been throughout this season with the way how this team has been playing the last couple of games, and the fact that FC Dallas seems to be our favorite opponent right next to Minnesota, because this was one of the 2 teams that we beat in that 4-win season of last season, and we did a double against them, and we also have beat them in the last 2 time when we play against FC Dallas on Dallas. And it seemed like the last 2, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last 2 row wins that the Quakes have got is against FC Dallas. I mean, there's just something about the Quakes that loves to play against Dallas. Although one thing I will say is that Dallas, this team is definitely not the same team as last season. I think if you subtract the back line of this team looks completely different than the one that we faced last season. And also they have a new coach right now in Luchi Gonzalez. And the other thing that I think this game, one thing that I am definitely really concerned about the Quakes coming into this game isn't really because of their rope form, but it's the fatigue factor for this team. And I don't think I've mentioned this before in terms of the man marking system, and I probably should have mentioned this before, is that the man marking system, while it seems like it's been an effective system so far that the team is running, one of the biggest disadvantage of the man marking system is that you need players that have a lot of fitness and have a lot of endurance and able to play that system, because it's a very intensive system. And knowing the fact that the Quakes are playing their third game in 7 days, yeah, I am definitely a little bit concerned about intensity level. And also, on top of that, they are playing against Dallas, and this is also a day game in Dallas, where I heard it's going to be really hot down there in Dallas for this weekend. I am really concerned with our intensity, and I know for a fact that when their intensity starts to drop, that's when they are started to give up goals. We saw it last weekend, or in the last match against Seattle, where in the second half, their intensity level definitely dropped. And I think it kind of showed that they were starting to get tired out. And then just like that, we can see 2 go and just barely hanging on in the last 15 minutes. And I have a feeling this could happen again in this game, where the Quakes, they could go up 3-0 at halftime. But my biggest concern is what's going to happen in the second half. Can this team have enough left in the tank where they can still run this man marking system, which is very intensive, but they can still go through for the full 90 minutes, and they can use anything that is left in the tank to just trying to battle through the heat and also the tiredness that we have had in the last couple of days. So that will be very interesting to see how the Quakes will do. But, as I said before, I am definitely confident that they can get something out of this game, and that we have a good record against Dallas. Although Dallas, they're not really a joke as I thought that they... Well, I wouldn't say they were a joke. I thought this year was a rebuilding year for Dallas with all these kind of youngsters that just came in. And it seemed like all their youngster is producing a game, and it just feels like it's not really a rebuilding. It's just more like the previous youngster and previous players that come from the Dallas Academy just basically pass off the torch to the next generation of FC Dallas player from the academy to come into that team, and they're doing just as well as the last generation one. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game to see. And if the Quakes do lose this game, I won't be too frustrated, because we have had a pretty good run lately, and I know that it's definitely going to get a lot easier for the Quakes. Like, May schedule is going to be probably the easiest schedule that we had throughout all the month that we have left in the season, and May could really tell a lot of story whether or not if this Quakes team are ready to compete or not. But having said that, moving on into the next game, it's Vancouver. They play against the Union. So the Whitecaps are 1-2-5, while the Union are 4-1-3. Vancouver, of course, lost 1-0 to Orlando City away, while Philly, of course, won 3-0 against Montreal at home. In terms of your shots leader, Mbone with 16 shots and 6 shots on goal. Jordi Reyna with 12 shots and 4 shots on goal. Montero with 12 shots and 1 shot on goal. Adnan with 11 shots and 4 shots on goal. And Ara Diaz with 6 shots and 2 shots on goal. On the Philly side, Marco Fabian, which I believe he is going to be back for this game. He wasn't available for the Union for the last couple of games, but he is back. He has currently have 25 shots and 7 shots on goal. Fafa Pico with 15 shots and 6 shots on goal. Corey Burke with 14 shots and 5 shots on goal. Aronson with 8 shots and 3 shots on goal, and Medunian with 8 shots and 1 shot on goal. Now, on paper, it looked like Philly could potentially get a win against the Whitecaps because so far this season, pretty much everybody have been able to get all 3 points against the Whitecaps. But one thing I am concerned about the Union coming into this game is that they have definitely not done very well on the road. Like, while their home form has been pretty good, their road form has been kind of troubling with the fact that they only won 1 out of their 4 games on the road, including losing twice on the road. And against a Vancouver team that they have definitely started to show signs of life, and a team that I think right now the biggest problem for Vancouver has been goal scoring, which is kind of weird because early in the season they were scoring a ton of goals, and that the only reason why they weren't winning the game was because their defense was awful. Now it's kind of the reverse, but I think the last couple of performances, you got to say Vancouver, they have started to show some improvement, and that the team that Marc Dos Santos basically built is started to kind of gel together. But it is a tough task against the Union, who, they are definitely doing very well this season. But on the road, that is kind of a different story. But next up, so if I would have told you in the beginning of the season that this is a battle between 2 teams in the bottom of the standing, and this is the battle of the bottom feeder, you would have probably laughed at me. You would have think that I am just not an MLS analyst, which, by the way, I'm not, and I'm just making things up and just kind of having a laugh about it. But the truth is, this is actually the battle of the bottom feeder with Atlanta. Their record is 1-2-3. They are bottom of the Eastern Conference. Now, of course, they have played the fewest game, and technically, if you look at their points per average, they're not bottom of the Eastern Conference, but as of now they're still at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, and they're playing against a Rapids team that is now the only team in MLS that have still not got a win, and they're the last team that is winless so far. Atlanta, of course, lost 2-1 against FC Dallas at home. In terms of your shots leader, Atlanta with Joseph Martinez with 20 shots and 7 shots on goal. Gresso with 17 shots and 5 shots on goal. Tito Villalba with 13 shots and 3 shots on goal. Barco with 11 shots and 7 shots on goal. And Pity Martinez with 5 shots and 2 shots on goal. For Colorado, Kamara with 24 shots and 12 shots on goal. Kai Kamara just cannot stop scoring goals for this team. I mean, these last couple, I think he has had at least a goal in these last 4 games for the Rapids. Whilst for Mesquita, he has 20 shots and 6 shots on goal. Kellen Acosta with 13 shots and 3 shots on goal. Diego Rubio with 10 shots and 1 shot on goal. And for Shinishiki, it's actually 8 shots, and I should also put a 1 shot on goal, and that was actually the goal that he scored all the way back in that Snow Classico that of course gave Colorado and rescued Colorado at least a point in that game. But yeah, I think when you look at the way this battle of the bottom feeder kind of game will turn out, I think the pressure is definitely going to be more on Atlanta than it is for Colorado. Now, Colorado so far, they obviously are feeling the pressure, the fact that they're the last winless team and they eventually got to snap out of it. But Atlanta, a team that had so much expectation, a team that you would think that they could potentially be not only making the playoffs, but are challenging for Supporter Shield. And yet, here we are, 10 games into the season, well, 10 match week into the season, they're in the bottom of the Eastern Conference. And, when you look at the last game that Atlanta played, there was a lot of boos in the stadium. A lot of people were walking out late in the game, and there was definitely a lot of fans are not happy and want De Boer out of this club. And, for Atlanta, imagine if they lose to Colorado. If they lose to Colorado, do you think that Frank De Boer would get the chopping block? Because De Boer, although there hasn't been a lot of rumor the fact that he's getting close to the chopping block, a lot of fans think he is and think that he should be fired by now. But imagine if you can't beat against Colorado, who is the last winless team and a team that has unfortunately been a punching bag again, just like the last couple of seasons. Then yeah, De Boer is going to be in serious trouble. So for Atlanta, I think this is a must-win for them. If they do not get get a win or do not get a draw in this game, then somebody could be fired on Monday morning, and somebody could be gone with this team. And it's also worthy to note that Atlanta still have not won a single game at home, and I believe this is like their fourth game this season at home, and a team that has pretty much win home every single week for the last 2 years, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium pretty much like a fortress like no other. It is absolutely shocking the fact that Atlanta still have not got a win at home, and we're already almost a quarter into the season. But yeah, next up, and the final game on this match week is the Red Bulls. So they play against FC Cincinnati, and this is also a battle of the bottom feeder, although I would call this game more the battle of the desperation, because for the Red Bulls, their record is 1-2-4, while FC Cincinnati is 2-2-4. The Red Bulls, they're winless in 5 games, and they only got 1 win out of their first 6 games so far this season, while FC Cincinnati, they're winless in 4 games and haven't tasted a victory since they beat New England 2-0 on the road, and haven't scored a single open goal in almost a month now. And the last time they scored an open goal was the Kenny Saev goal that of course beat New England, and the second goal that Cincinnati scored to beat New England 2-0 in that game. So you can tell how much both of these teams are struggling right now. Now, in terms of the shots leader, BWP with 16 shots and 5 shots on goal. Royer with 12 shots and 6 shots on goal. Ivan with 9 shots and 2 shots on goal. Bezecourt with 7 shots and 2 shots on goal. And Tim Parker with 6 shots and 2 shots on goal. On the FC Cincinnati side, Mane with 10 shots and 2 shots on goal. Burton with 10 shots and 3 shots on goal. Maddox with 9 shots and 4 shots on goal. Cruz with 7 shots and 2 shots on goal. And Lamar with 6 shots and 3 shots on goal. And, you know, since this is the battle of desperation, certainly both of these teams are desperate to try to get a win. Although I think, like what I said about Atlanta and Colorado, which team I think are more desperate to get a win, I think it has to be the Red Bulls. I mean, I know FC Cincinnati, it's been a bit of a struggle. They have really fallen off and started to go into this downward spiral after they start the season so promisingly. But for the Red Bulls, a team that, like Atlanta, had supporter shield aspiration, and in the beginning of the season, I thought the Atlanta and the Red Bulls were the team to beat in the East, and it turns out they're now in the bottom of the Eastern Conference. The Red Bulls got to do something, and I think Chris Armas, he knows that he has started to feel the heat. I mean, the last 2 weeks about this Thierry Henry kind of rumor, which it has died down a little bit, but knowing the fact that if he cannot start getting wins for the Red Bulls, then those rumors will go higher and higher. And who knows, maybe the Red Bulls might even think about firing Chris Armas, even if Thierry Henry doesn't come to the Red Bulls, because of how bad this team has. And a lot of the problem of this team has been goal scoring. It's been guys that they bought from the academy are just not having the same effect as they used to be. And also whatever Chris Armour's tactics in terms of being kind of a pressing team, it has just not shown this season. Like the press that the Red Bulls have been playing, it seemed like teams are figuring out the press that Chris Armour's and this Red Bull team has. And Chris Armour's, he just have no answer in terms of how to try to counter of what teams have figured out this team, and that's why the Red Bulls are just struggling so much on this. But yeah, this is a game that both teams desperately want to get a win, and since this is a game between both teams that also are struggling to score goals, don't be surprised if this is going to be like a 1-0 and 2-0 or even a 1-1 type of game. But that being said, let's now change the boards and look at the other 6 games that's going to be happening this weekend. But yeah, next up, Houston. They are playing against Columbus. Houston, their record is 4-1-1, while Columbus 4-1-4. Houston lost to the Galaxy 2-1 away, which was their first loss of the season, while Columbus lose to DC United at home during this midweek 1-0. For shots and shots on goal leader for both teams, for Houston, it's Elise leading the team with 19 shots and 8 shots on goal. Thomas Martinez with 16 shots and 4 shots on goal. Manotas with 16 shots and 7 shots on goal. Rodriguez with 10 shots and 5 shots on goal. And Minor Figueroa with 6 shots and no shots on goal. On the Columbus side, it's Santos with 19 shots and 6 shots on goal. Rubinho with 16 shots and 7 shots on goal. Zardes with 15 shots and 5 shots on goal. Higuain with 14 shots and 5 shots on goal. And Saro with 8 shots and 2 shots on goal. So, for Houston, I've been saying in these couple of weeks that while this team has done very well so far this season and are near the top of the Western Conference standing, one thing that I want to see this team, before I can say that this team can really compete, is that when they need to first face some of these tough teams, which they are going to get from these next couple of weeks. And, technically Columbus, a couple of weeks ago, I would say this would be a tough team, but knowing how Columbus has gone and knowing how the problem of them not scoring a goal for the last they did score a goal 2 games ago, but it seemed like they are kind of enduring a little bit of a goal drought with them only scoring 2 goals in 4 games, including getting shut out 2 of the last 4 games. Yeah, this is definitely not as a tough opponent as I thought Houston would be facing, starting with the Galaxy. And, in that game, they did lose to the Galaxy, which on stat, it proved that, Houston, I don't think they are for real right now because they just lose to a team that is really kind of like in the top of the standing and kind of like contending for the playoffs. However, I will say that in that game, I thought Houston looked very good, and I thought Houston was really going toe-to-toe with the Galaxy. And although they did lose that game, they did give up a late goal in that game. They probably should have deserved at least a point out of that game. And knowing the fact that this is a home game for Houston, we know what that means. They're probably going to win that game, especially how this season, how they definitely look much better than what last season was at home. I mean, Houston has always been good at home. Last season, I think it might be an exception, the fact that they were not doing very well at home. But knowing that they are at home in this game against a Columbus side that, as I mentioned, are struggling to score goals and struggling to get wins, I think they should be able to win this one and bounce back after that tough loss against the Galaxy. But yeah, next up, speaking of tough losses, Sporting KC suffered that last week, and they got absolutely ripped apart by the Quakes 4-1 away. Now, obviously, I know that Sporting KC fans are kind of starting to panic a little bit with the way that this team has been playing. I thought for Sporting KC, this was a team that was going to be compete in the top of the Western Conference, and that this team was potentially maybe going to be like one of the top 3 teams. But instead, so far this season, they're literally sitting just above the red line in 7th place with a record of 2-3-2. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have CCL commitment, and now they have injury issue that they have to worry about, with Beasler and Espinoza going to be out for a couple of weeks. Well, for Espinoza, he's going to be out until the summertime in July. But the good news is they are playing against New England, and New England this season, as everybody expected, it was not going to be a good season, and it is the case with them having a record of 2-1-6. They did lose to 3-0 to Montreal at home in a game that I thought it looked like they were going to maybe get a point out of that game, and then they basically commit a goalkeeping howler and then just completely capitulate at home. And, talk about how Columbus is a team that struggled to score goals. It's the same thing about New England. They're a team that also struggle in terms of scoring goals. In terms of the shots and shots on goal leaders, Russell with 19 shots and 8 shots on goal, Nemeth with 19 shots and 7 shots on goal, Gutierrez with 14 shots and 7 shots on goal, Zusi with 10 shots and no shots on goal, and Gianluca Busio with 9 shots and 6 shots on goal. On the New England side, Carlos Gil leads the team with 18 shots and 6 shots on goal. Bunbury with 13 shots and 1 shot on goal. Pineda with 10 shots and 3 shots on goal. Fagundes with 9 shots and 3 shots on goal. And Edgar Castillo with 9 shots and 1 shot on goal. And I really think for Sporting KC, like what I kind of said about Atlanta versus Colorado, this is kind of a game that they have to win. Like, against New England, a team that has just been kind of in a crisis and kind of like sitting near the bottom of the Eastern Conference, you would think that Sporting KC should win this game. And especially the fact that this is a game at home where Sporting KC has been so good at home for the last couple of seasons. I expect Sporting KC to win this. But then again, like I said, with the injuries that they've been having so far, it's definitely not going to be just straightforward that they can just demolish New England and get all 3 points in this. They need to keep their focus and know that we want this 3 points, even though we're playing against one of the worst teams in the league right now. But yeah, next up, it is Montreal. They take on Chicago. So Montreal, as I mentioned, they beat New England 3-0 on that midweek game. While Chicago, of course, they lost 1-0 to NYCFC in their midweek game away. And unlike many of these matches, I think this is the only match where both teams actually play a midweek game. So obviously both of these teams won't have the luxury of the fact that one team will have more rest than the other. Both of these teams are playing their third game in 7 days. For Montreal, in terms of their shots and shots on goal leader, Sofia Taidia with 21 shots and 10 shots on goal. Okawankwo with 19 shots and 5 shots on goal. Urruti with 9 shots and 4 shots on goal. Piatti, who, again, I don't know if he'll be back for this game. There's still no report of the fact that Piatti has been ready to be back with this team. He has 7 shots and 4 shots on goal, and Novello with 6 shots and 3 shots on goal. On the Chicago side, Alexander Katai with 23 shots and 7 shots on goal. CJ Sapon with 16 shots and 6 shots on goal. Nemanja Nikolic with 15 shots and 6 shots on goal. Georgi Mihailovic with 13 shots and 4 shots on goal. And Bastian Schweinsteiger with 7 shots and 2 shots on goal. And, for Montreal, if they do not have Piatti again, you know what they're going to do. They're going to try to kind of bunker and try to find a way to score a goal or two, which they have definitely been very successful at doing that. Like, this team, despite the fact that they did have that one moment where their bunker pretty much got destroyed against Philly, they've been able to stay afloat despite the fact that Piatti has been injured. And I wonder, when Piatti does come back to this Montreal team, yeah, watch out. This Montreal team is going to be very dangerous. And Montreal, technically, they're actually second in the Eastern Conference. I don't think a lot of people thought, like, I knew Montreal was going to be a dark horse team, but I didn't think that they're actually right now second in the Eastern Conference right now. While Chicago, again, like I said before, of how inconsistent they are. You just don't know which Chicago team will show up. Is it the Chicago team that is just awful in defense, but they're doing good on the attack? Or is it the Chicago team that do very well on attack, but they can't finish to save their life and their defense are very good? Or is it a defense that look very good, but they just could not create any chances, which is the Chicago team that we saw against NYCFC? It must be really frustrated to be a Fire fan right now, knowing that it's like, which Chicago team is going to show up? And there's definitely talent on this team that you think, well, they should have enough talent on the attack where they're going to score as much goal. And despite the fact on the defensive end that they're kind of a little short, at least their defense at times have showed up. And you would think, combined with that, they should be doing very well. But instead, they've been inconsistent. The record basically also tells you that they've been inconsistent. So, yeah, I don't know which Chicago team will show up. If this is a Chicago team that their attack will be hitting on full cylinder, then I think that they could potentially win against Montreal. But having said that, if that attack goes full sync, but they could not finish, then maybe Chicago is not going to win in this game. But yeah, next up, Minnesota. They play against DC United. And by the way, we're now getting into the Sunday game. This game, by the way, starts at 9:30 for me. Yeah, thanks a lot, MLS. Like, I already complained the fact that you start the game at 10 in the morning. Now you're going to make it even earlier at 9:30 in the morning. And this game is going to be 10:30 in the morning for me, which is about 12:30 local time for this game. Both of these games are going to be kicking off at 12:30 local time for both of these teams. For Minnesota, of course, their record is 3-2-3, while DC United, their record is 5-2-2. Minnesota, of course, drew in the midweek against the Galaxy 0-0, while DC, of course, won 1-0 to Columbus. And actually, I take back what I said, how this is the only game that both teams play in a midweek. This is the other one. Both of these teams, of course, play in the midweek too. And in terms of the shots for both of these teams, in terms of shots and shots on goal leader, Quintero with 21 shots and 8 shots on goal. Angelino Rodriguez with 18 shots and 5 shots on goal. Guegas with 11 shots and 4 shots on goal. Francesco Calvo with 11 shots and 5 shots on goal. And Ibarra with 10 shots and 6 shots on goal. And that's Romero Ibarra. That is the person here. Well, for DC United, Rooney leads the team with 24 shots and 9 shots on goal. Lucho Acosta with 19 shots and 7 shots on goal. Ariola with 13 shots and 4 shots on goal. Brilliant with 10 shots and 4 shots on goal. And Rodriguez with 8 shots and 4 shots on goal. And, for DC, it's been kind of a strange season for them because for whatever reason, in the past, they always tend to struggle to play on the road. Now this season, they're almost winning every single road game, and they're actually still unbeaten on the road right now. Whereas now they're going to be playing against a Minnesota team, and you would think Minnesota, they are desperate to try to get all 3 points. Like, it's hard to believe that, like, both of these teams are kind of going in a different pattern where you would think both of these teams from the past couple of seasons where they do well at home, but they suck on the road. Now it's the complete opposite. DC, as I said, they're good on the road, but they tend to struggle at Audi Field. It's the same thing for Minnesota this season. Although they haven't been as good as DC United, where they're not unbeaten on the road, they have looked very decent and had grabbed more wins on the road than they have got in the whole of last season. So, yeah, it is a very strange kind of combination that both team is going through, but I think for Minnesota, they would definitely want to start having a good home record and really finally give a chance for the Wonderwall supporter to sing Wonderwall, because they've been aching to sing that song. They think that with how good Minnesota was last season at home, they would be able to sing that song many times, but it's back-to-back draw for the first 2 games at Allianz Field, and in the last game especially, I thought they should have won that game with the chances that they have. And that's also another problem with Minnesota. They seems to create a ton of chance so far this season, but putting it away the last couple of games has been kind of a struggle. So, yeah, we shall see how this game will go. And for DC, we shall see if their offense can get going. Their goal, they are kind of started to run a little bit dry in terms of the goal scoring department, only scoring 1 goal in the last 2 games, but they are playing against a Minnesota defense that has leaked a lot of goals this season. But yeah, moving on is the game of the week, which is Seattle versus LAFC. It's round 2 between both of these teams. Obviously, last time, LAFC won 4-1 against Seattle. Seattle did have a midweek game, and they drew 2-2 against the Quakes. So they kind of avoided the trap against the Quakes, but they didn't get all 3 points against the Quakes, and they really had to dig in for that game. In terms of the shots and shots on goal leader, Ladero with 19 shots and 7 shots on goal. Rodriguez with 18 shots and 5 shots on goal. Ruidíaz, which I believe I think he's going to be available for this game with 13 shots and 6 shots on goal. Rodin with 9 shots and 2 shots on goal. And Chad Marshall, which again, I believe he's also going to be available for this game because he did play in the last game against the Quakes, had 7 shots and 1 shot on goal. On the LAFC side, Carlos Vela with 51 shots and 21 shots on goal. Not only that he leads the league in shots, but it's not even close of how, the next person that has the most shots in the league is Zlatan, and he has 30. And he has 51. He's basically almost double the amount of shots that Zlatan has got. It is just incredible of how good Vela has been this season, and he is just putting up numbers that we have not seen in the league ever before. Rossi, of course, had 29 shots and 15 shots on goal. So their second place player in terms of the shots are right around the next leading shots leader in the league, which again, it was Zlatan. I think Rossi is currently third in the standing. That just tells you how good their attack is and how good that Vela and Rossi combination has been with this LAFC team. Blessing with 11 shots and 1 shot on goal. MAK with 10 shots and 4 shots on goal. And Zimmerman with 10 shots and 4 shots on goal. And this is a revenge game for Seattle. They want to get revenge against LAFC, and they would know that this time they got to make sure they mark Vela and Rossi and all the other important pieces, and also Mark Anthony Kane, not letting him just have inches of space to find Vela and just pick out that Seattle defense. But one thing I am concerned about Seattle, and I mentioned this in the review in the midweek, is that did they spend too much energy in that game between them and the Quakes? Because they really dug in that game. They really had to fight for that draw. And now knowing that they have a short week, and even though they didn't have to travel, they have a short week against an LAFC team that is much rested and is a team that are looking to try to do a double against them. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting to see. Let's see if Seattle can get some revenge against LAFC, or would LAFC potentially get a double against the Sounders. And also, one thing that you guys need to keep in mind is Seattle in that game against the Quakes, they pretty much put most of the starters that play against LAFC. There's only 2 players that in that Sounders versus Quakes game that did not play. Did play in against LAFC, but did not play against the Quakes, and that was Brad Smith and Roman Torres. And technically, there's only one player, because I don't think Roman Torres is probably going to be starting in this game. I think Chad Marshall is going to be starting in this game. But again, with them starting so many starters in that Quakes game, and how, as I mentioned, they really had to dug in that game, did they waste too much energy, and is there enough left in the tank for this team to do well against an LAFC team that is, they're definitely hungry to try to get another one against Seattle, and a team that know that their opposition is tired and that they're just going to get ready to pounce on them. But yeah, finally, moving on into the final game of this week, is the Galaxy play against RSL. So many people thought that this was actually the final game of this week. Nope, it's actually the Galaxy versus RSL. This is the final game of Sunday, and I believe this kicks off at 6 o'clock my time. So if you live in the East Coast, I'm sorry the fact that you have to stay late on a Sunday night to watch a soccer game. And that means I'll have to do the review a little bit later than usual. But the Galaxy, of course, drew 0-0 to Minnesota away. RSL, of course, won 3-0 against FC Cincinnati away. For the Galaxy, Zlatan, of course, currently leads the team with 30 shots and 10 shots on goal. And as I mentioned, he's second in terms of the most shots that a player has taken this season. Pontius with 9 shots and 2 shots on goal. Starius with 9 shots and 3 shots on goal. Alessandrini, which I didn't mention in the news of the week, and I probably should have mentioned it. He's going to be out for at least a couple of months because he has his surgery, I believe, on his hand. So he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, and that's a huge blow for the Galaxy in terms of that attack, of losing Alessandrini. That is he's a very dangerous kind of goal scorer, and a guy that can definitely take the pressure off of Zlatan in terms of the goal scoring department. Leggett, of course, with 7 shots and 3 shots on goal to round up the list. As for RSL, Savarino leads the team with 18 shots and 10 shots on goal. Rusnak with 17 shots and 7 shots on goal. Krylak with 11 shots and 4 shots on goal. Johnson with 6 shots and 2 shots on goal. And Corey Bear with 6 shots and 4 shots on goal. And, when you look at this, it's pretty clear that probably the Galaxy is going to win this, because while RSL has been playing a little bit better, they are playing against a Galaxy team that's definitely not happy with the way that they didn't get all 3 points against Minnesota, and that, this is a team so far, they have not been beaten at once at home. In fact, they are actually undefeated and have won every single game at home so far this season. And RSL, although, like I said, they won 3-0 on the road, which is one of those rare road wins that RSL has got. Yeah, something tells me that they are going to run into a buzzsaw of an LA Galaxy team that are desperate to trying to get back on the winning side and try to keep up with LAFC in terms of the top spot. Right now, both LAFC and LA Galaxy sits at 1 and 2, and Galaxy actually have one game in hand over LAFC, but even with that game in hand, both teams would be tied in terms of points. So they want to keep up with LAFC in terms of the standings and trying to get that top spot. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for my preview of this weekend. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all these games? Which game are you going to definitely be watching? Obviously, this one is probably your answer. But let me know if there are any other games besides this one that you're definitely going to keep an eye on. And as usual, make sure you leave your prediction in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.